Hello, heroes and Zargons. I'm Alfred, and this is the Trials and Tribulations of Zargon, a series which details the many ways in which the Emperor's heroes foil Zargon and his minions in their plots to conquer the Empire. In it, we'll review published quests and any house rules or modifications I'm using to make the game more interesting and challenging. This is the fourth of my house rules videos. In it, we'll cover the level advancement deck for the Barbarian. For info on why I designed level advancement decks and how they work, see House Rules 2, linked below. I'll share part of that video here to let my former self quickly recap the process for gaining a level. Here's how it works. Each class has a deck of 10 improvement cards. When a hero completes 3 quests, and again every 3 quests thereafter, the hero can seek training. Training costs 500 gold coins per level, and each subsequent level costs an additional 100 gold coins. So, for example, a hero with no levels must complete 3 quests and then pay 500 gold coins to draw from the leveling deck. If a hero has already drawn from that deck once, they must complete an additional 3 quests before they draw again. Now that you know how the system works, let's talk about the Barbarian. The Barbarian occupies a pole opposite the Wizard in many ways, and as such, had a deck that was similarly intuitive to build. Where the Wizard is about subtlety and the wise use of resources, the Barbarian is about force. The Wizard's deck adds complexity. The Barbarian's deck should remain streamlined. The Wizard's cards build on each other. The Barbarian's cards should stand alone. With those design principles in mind, let's look at the deck. First, the raw stat array. As a reminder, I consider raw stats to be body points, mind points, movement dice, attack dice, and defend dice. As with the Wizard, the Barbarian's initial array suggests a pretty obvious advancement package. 3 body points, 1 mind point, and 1 attack die. The Barbarian has the most raw stat advancements as a way to communicate the simplicity of the character and make sure that the Barbarian ends up with the best physical stats. Lots of body points were a necessity. 3 in order to differentiate it from the other martial characters and ensure that a fully leveled up Barbarian increases body point advantage over the other heroes. If body points are a strength, mind points are a weakness in the base game, and they continue to be during advancement. Finally, in the base game, the Barbarian starts with an additional attack die based on equipment. An attack die card makes this advantage inherent instead of material. From there, I wanted to focus on the Barbarian's strength and resilience. As with the Wizard, I wanted to make mind points matter, and that's how I hit on the idea of skills that could be used a mind point number of times per dungeon. I wanted the Barbarian to have a tool set that could spice up combat by giving the heroes new ways of dealing with monsters. I knew I wanted to communicate growing power through a cleave-like ability, so I designed follow-through. It reads, if you kill a monster with a melee attack, and there is another monster in range, you may make a second attack. You may use this ability a number of times equal to your mind points per dungeon. To pair with that, I wanted a skill that could help the Barbarian deal with higher body point monsters. I could see that happening in 2 ways. One, by reducing their effectiveness, and another, by forcing them to target the Barbarian, who could then soak up damage. Since both had different use cases, I designed both. The first is called Stunning Blow, and it reads, you strike with such ferocity that if you deal any damage, you reduce the monster's attack dice or defense dice to 1 until the end of your next turn. You must declare that you are attempting to stun before rolling, and you may use this ability a number of times equal to your mind points per dungeon. This ability can effectively negate an attack or turn a monster into hero fodder. Currently, House Rules as written, this card would allow the Barbarian to go first, stun a monster, and then let the other heroes get in 2 licks before the Barbarian gets in a final one. Eventually, I think it will instead end at the same point in the hero's turn that it occurred. So, if a Barbarian went first in the turn that they stunned, the effect would end after the first hero acts on a subsequent turn. This effect could turn out to be ridiculously overpowered for boss fights, but we'll see. Though I expect it won't come up much because the stun monster will be dead before they can be stunned again, I suspect I will change this card also to ensure that a monster can only be stunned by this effect once. The other ability, Taunt, lets the Barbarian control monsters by forcing them to move toward the Barbarian and target them. It reads, designate 1 monster that you can see. Until the end of your turn, that monster must move directly towards you and attempt to attack you. If it cannot reach you, it will attack the hero most directly blocking its path. You can use this ability a number of times per dungeon, equal to your mind points. With the new rules about monster movement, I wanted the heroes to have some options for controlling the monsters, and this is one of the ways I tried to make that happen. It also lets the hero control which characters get attacked, making it a potentially valuable defensive tool. Though not specified on the card, I again anticipated that this could or would only need to be used once on a monster, and that it would be a free action, since controlling monster movement while very strong is almost never worth foregoing an attack. With this complement of 6 cards, I turned my attention to thinking about how I could show Barbarian endurance in other ways. Doors in this game pose a major hurdle, especially to heroes who are on a timer and must enter rooms to do battle or be attacked from behind. Since heroes can't search rooms filled with monsters for traps, they need some tools for dealing with trapped door tiles in rooms. The dwarf's Keen Eyes skill is one way, but I wanted to give the Barbarian a particularly, barbaric way of dealing with traps, so I hit on Heroic Fortitude. It reads, "Your adventuring has afforded you tremendous resilience and determination. Taking damage from traps no longer ends your turn. In addition, when attempting to leap a tile, you fail only on a black shield." A Barbarian with this ability has the option to use their superior physical endurance to plow through traps and jump over pits. Barbarians are already frequently the first to enter rooms, but now careful pathing can clear the way for subsequent heroes. I also think this ability is particularly cinematic, as I imagine the Barbarian falling hard through a hole in the ground, but gritting their teeth and leaping up to grab the edge of the pit, rolling up on the other side, taking a spear in the flank, and then pulling it out as they advance on the nearest Chaos Warrior to still land a dramatic overhand swing with the battle axe. With the last ability, I wanted to communicate the Barbarian's strength out of combat in some way, so I hit on the idea of interacting with furniture. Furniture in this game does not often substantially restrict movement, however, so destroying it needed to have a strategic purpose, which is why the card Destroy feature reads, "Sometimes your rage gets the best of you, and sometimes things are just in the way. You may spend an action to destroy one piece of furniture adjacent to you. When you do, all creatures adjacent to it or diagonal to that furniture take 1 body point of damage. You may use this ability a number of times per dungeon, equal to your mind points." This gives the Barbarian another crowd control option, useful in situations that differ from follow-through. It also creates some strategic considerations, as rather than lead with the Barbarian, it might be beneficial to clear a path to a table in the center of a room, for example. Then, let the Barbarian effectively detonate the table to destroy the remaining monsters around it. Occasionally, this ability may be worth using to destroy a piece of furniture blocking a path. Additionally, since I have a number of iron doors and portcullises that I can use to force heroes to engage with puzzles, I may adjust this card to allow the Barbarian to break down locked wooden doors at some point to give another out-of-combat use for this ability. A fully kitted out Barbarian suddenly has 4 skill options that they can use, each of them potentially more powerful than the wizard's initial spell options. I think that the Barbarian skills are the most powerful in the game, but they are balanced by the mind point per dungeon mechanic. A Barbarian's 3 mind points means that even with all the cards in the deck, they'll only ever be able to perform 12 skill actions. A wizard, in contrast, will have 16 spells and will be able to optimize from their spell options to take the most useful of them. Because of how dungeons are themed, I anticipate that different Barbarian skills will shine in different dungeons. For example, in Legacy of the Orc Warlord, Follow Through and Destroy feature might be really useful because the heroes are encountering hordes of low body point monsters. If the heroes battle ogres and wolves, however, those abilities might be worthless, but Taunt and Stun will shine. I'm sure I'll have update videos on these decks as we continue playing, but for now they're as balanced as I can create with the eye test. As with the Wizard deck, I'm not comfortable sharing card images for reproduction, but I've shared the text of the cards in a Word document if you'd like to try running them. If you see or experience anything glaringly unbalanced, or if you have a good idea for a different take on Barbarian advancement, let's plot together in the comments below.